Every trader gets to the point where they've had enough of random setups, they've had enough of winning three or four trades, getting excited, and then losing the next 10 trades and feeling lost, like they don't know where to go next. Every trader gets tired of losing and just wants to find edge. I'm going to show you how in this video. This isn't something specific to me. This isn't something theoretical. This is the way. People at hedge funds show up every single day and they work on this. This is how it's done. I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do to develop edge. And trust me, it is very predictable. It is simply a process that you need to go through every single day, and you will get there. Are you ready? Back test, forward test, review, refine. That's it. That's the basic structure. That's the process of developing edge. For us retail traders, I add one level to that. It's right at the beginning before you backtest. What you want to do is you want to find a strategy and a time frame that work for you, align with your personality, they work for your life, and it's something you'd actually enjoy trading regularly. Once you find that, and that's not that hard to find. You can usually incorporate that into back testing, but once you find that, just stick to that strategy. Stick to that one strategy, and then the next step comes. And this is where you actually develop edge. So once you've found your strategy on your time frame and you've back tested it and you like it, the next thing to do is make that strategy family. That strategy is your best friend. You stick to that strategy and that one alone, and then you start paper trading it. Only in paper trading. Just because you backtest it doesn't mean you're ready for real money. You haven't actually developed edge yet. I'm gonna tell you how to do that next. The next step is to paper trade it, record those trades along with criteria that make up that strategy, the criteria that define that strategy. Then you regularly review all your entries on your spreadsheet along with the charts. This doesn't have to take in a lot of time. I spent maybe an hour or two on the weekend when I was doing this. Review all of the trades, review all the charts, and just take a look at what you see. What patterns do you see? Are you doing something every single time that it's not working out? All of your trades on small cap stocks, none of them are working out, but all of your trades on large cap stocks are. Well, there you go. Now you can make a rule. That is finding edge. Reviewing, refining, making rules. That is the definition of developing edge. That is how it's done. It all starts with tracking it in a spreadsheet. And make no mistake about it. This is how hedge funds do it. This is how big banks do it. Yes, the tools are different. Yes, the strategies are different. Maybe they're using derivatives. Maybe they're a lot more complex. But make no mistake about it, the concept is the same. The concept of tracking occurrences, reviewing large batch amounts to see what is working and what's not, and then developing rules and continuing to test it to see if your rules are working, continuing to refine it. That is how anybody who's trading, the pros, develop edge. Let me show you a few examples of some spreadsheets that I developed. I'm going to show you a more complex one that I developed on a strategy that I ultimately abandoned. I never bothered continuing to trade it. And I'm going to show you how far I've gotten so far on my backtesting spreadsheet that I want to share with you when my backtesting tutorial comes out. Okay, so this is where I did some testing. Uh, this is a sheet I made back in April and May when I was doing some research and development, trying some new strategies. This is a 50-day simple moving average breakout. That would be the entry. That was the strategy. I was looking for high volume, so you can see here I tracked the volume on the day and the average daily volume, and I had uh, a metric, a percent. How much higher was the volume this day? And recorded by market cap, recorded the catalyst. I recorded how how strong I thought the overall market was on the S&P. Uh, and of course, whether the S&P was in an uptrend or a downtrend, how that was working out. It was centered around mostly mid-cap stocks. So this is complicated, and I know that this could feel overwhelming for a beginner, but I just want to show you what it looks like when something has been back tested. So over here, I kept track of any entries that I could make with options, but because they were all mid caps, there just wasn't enough liquidity on the options market for these particular names. So uh, it ended up being a bust. There really wasn't much there. So I recorded the wins, the losses. Um, Over here is where I tracked a few different angles of how to look at this particular data set. We had an extraordinary win rate. It was a very strong win rate. We did make some gains, but ultimately I ended up abandoning this strategy. And I'll tell you why. The reason is because the market shifted one day and it was very cut and dry. One day, this strategy worked incredibly well, and the next day, you were losing a lot of money on this strategy. So it was very market dependent, and that's not what I'm looking for in a strategy. I'm looking for something that, no strategy wins all the time, but I'm looking for something that, more or less has a fairly steady equity curve. It's not something where all of a sudden I just got to step away from trading one day. So I did abandon this strategy, even though there are time periods, certain market conditions, when it's a very aggressive strategy that can produce some pretty outstanding returns. It can also hurt you pretty badly when the market conditions aren't right. But here's an example, a very complex example. You can see here there's a number of different strategies that I was testing at the time. I was keeping track of number a number of different a number of different setups. Let me let me show you something that's a little bit less daunting, looks a little bit more doable for a beginner. So this is the spreadsheet that I'm working on that I will make available with my back testing tutorial video. You can see here it's very simple. Entries, stop loss, exit price. Just record whether it was a win or loss. It'll tell you what risk to reward ratio that you got on this trades, depending on where it made sense to exit, whether you got stopped out or whether you were able to take profits at some point. Down here is where you would enter your risk because we're always risking the same amount on every trade, right, guys? You don't want to be changing your risk level. And this is 100% purely an example just for testing the sheet. So these numbers are not related to a ticker of any sort. I was just testing the sheet. But you can see here it'll tell you what the win rate would be. Profit factor is kind of what your average risk to reward ratio would have been across all your trades. So in this particular case, it was a 1 to 3.61. So that's a pretty good strategy. If you could find something like that, that would be excellent. Expected outcome, I'm not going to explain what that means in this video. This is a professional metric. This is used by the pros. It is a very meaningful metric. And I'm going to add a chart here that's going to tell you more about what is a good expected outcome and maybe what's not that great of an expected outcome. And a lot of it depends on how often you trade and your win rate and different things like that. So your expected outcome combined with other metrics can help you to understand if this backtest is going well or not. I hope this doesn't look daunting, certainly for a new trader. If you get a lot of different metrics in there and a lot of different criteria, um, I mean, we all start somewhere, right? And starting out with a simple tool like this can be very effective in helping you to understand if the back test is going well. if this strategy that you're backtesting is something you want to pursue and put more work into, you feel like it's worth it to start putting work to hone an edge. So if you want to learn how to backtest, you want to have access to the tool, if you want to learn how to take a strategy, develop edge, and turn it into something that you can trust in the markets, that's what we're doing here at the Edge Foundry. That's what we're teaching people. Please subscribe if you'd like more information. We'll keep you up to date as to how our website's coming along, how the mentorship program is coming along in development. Um, Give me a like, and I look forward to working with you.